Jaya Shriman Narayana. Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Jaya Shri Guru. Sanatana Dharma Jayate. Dharma Rashtra Jayate. Suravansha Jayate. Om Hari Om. Namaste, everyone. It is my pleasure to be with you this Monday evening for our live stream Satsangha brought to you by the International Sanatana Dharma Society. And what we're going to be doing today is something special that has come about for quite a few months now. And once a month now, what we're doing is just a pure question and answer session. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So this is Vedic questions, Vedic answers for February of 2023. So again, for the next hour or so, I will be just taking everyone's questions. Before we begin with that, however, let me first just say just a few very, very quick things. And those are these. First of all, if you are not subscribed yet to our Dharma Nation channel, I would ask that you please do so as soon as you can, right now if you can. Please subscribe to this channel, because if you're here for the first time, or if you've been with us for some time, you will see that indeed this channel is not like any other, even spiritual channel anywhere on YouTube. That the information that we provide is information that is authentic, that does not arise from mental speculation, from a desire to make money, etc., etc. But rather, what we do on this channel is something that is quite unique. We present pure, authentic, orthodox, and traditional Sanatana Dharma, the Vedic tradition, to our audience. And again, we do so without wanting anything in return. It shocks people. I've been teaching for 35 years approximately, and I don't charge people. I will Skype with people for an hour and speak with them about their problems. I don't charge them. I don't charge people money for initiations. I don't charge people money for anything spiritual whatsoever. And indeed, this makes what we do unique. This is truly a non-profit religious movement that is dedicated to Sanatana Dharma. And this is what this channel is all about, presenting Vedic truth to people, again, in an authentic way. So subscribe to this channel, please, as soon as you can. The other thing is, please like this video, because of course that helps with the algorithms, and then these videos will be presented to other people as suggestions, etc. The other thing is, please visit our website when you have a chance, dharmacentral.com. When you go there, you will see that dharmacentral.com is a vast resource of information on Sanatana Dharma. Most of our books are on there. We haven't been able to update it in a few weeks or so, so not all of our books are up there, but most of them are. You'll see that there are articles. You'll see that there is even a Vedic mantra recitation album that is available, etc., etc. So visit Dharma Central when you can. And the other thing, the last thing that I want to mention is we also have a Discord server. If you want to feel like you are part of the Vedic community and to have conversations with other people, to learn from other people, to have fellowship, association, etc., please feel free to join our Discord server. Now, before you do, let me warn you. Our Discord server exists for one thing and only one thing, and that is to present, as I was saying before, authentic Sanatana Dharma. It's not a debate platform. It's not a pan-Hindu free-for-all. No, we are Vaishnavas. In fact, we are Sri Vaishnavas. This is what the International Sanatana Dharma Society presents to our audience, is we present Sanatana Dharma in its highest form, and that is called Sri Vaishnava Dharma. So if you join our Discord forum, please come there with the humility and the sincerity to ask questions, not to debate with us, not to try to convert us to something else. You will never convert us to anything else away from Sanatana Dharma in a million years. But please join our Discord forum, and you will find wonderful positive association there. And with that, with those few announcements, I want to see now, are there any questions? So if you have any questions, everyone, please feel free to ask. I know there's a little bit of a delay, so it'll take maybe 20 seconds or so before I see your actual questions. Very good. Here is a good question from Raja Rama, and it is Namaste Sri Acharyaji. Do the Ramayana and the Mahabharata happen in every Treta and Dwapara Yuga in each Manvantara cycle? Are there different versions that happen in different Manvantara cycles? Very good question, and yes, let me answer this. And I've answered similar questions before, actually. People know that we go through various cycles. We have the yugas themselves, then we have a Maha Yuga, that is the coming together of 4 yugas, etc., and then it just expands from there. Vedic cosmology and the calendrical system is just truly, truly amazing and astounding, something which in itself can be studied for a very long time. But as a result of the cyclical nature of the yugas and of time, sadly, some people have the idea that with every cycle, so let's say once, well, the last Dwapara Yuga just ended. Well, once there's another Dwapara Yuga, as the cycle continues, some people have the idea that, oh, everything will be exactly the same. Exactly the same. And then, for example, in every Kali Yuga, there will be a George Washington, etc. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works in any way. No, there is free will, there is karma. There are many, many different factors that come into play such that the cycles are there. But as far as what happens within those cycles, it will be a little bit different from cycle to cycle. So that includes the Maha Yugas, the Manvantara cycles, etc. So will there always be a Mahabharata and a Ramayana, or let me say it in correct order, a Ramayana and a Mahabharata? Yes. The reason why is because this is Shabda. So it is eternal scripture. It's not just, see, we always have to keep these things in mind. These are not books that were just kind of written by some person willy-nilly. You know, some person was just inspired and decided to write a book. No, this is considered to be Shastra. That being the case, it is the nature of Shastra that Shastra is eternal. And that being the case, there is always a Ramayana and a Mahabharata that is revealed. Now, that being said, let me also say this, that in some cases, the Ramayana will be expanded, in some cases contracted. In some cases, and this is hard to believe because the Mahabharata is already so massive, 110,000 couplets, but in some cases it will be expanded and in other cases contracted. Now, it's not altered, it's not changed, but indeed, in accordance with the need of that specific yuga, there will be, again, either expansions or contractions as far as the length of these works. Now, how do we know that this is the case, and how does this make sense to us? Well, very simply, we know that this is the case not just from yuga to yuga. This is also the case, ontologically speaking, as far as the various strata of being that exist within a specific Brahmanda, a specific universe. So, in the scriptures itself, for example, it explains that The Vedic scriptures that we even have upon the earth plane, the earth planet, is not the totality of the scriptures. The gods have them all. We have a smaller fraction of the scriptures. So again, it's not that the scriptures change, but again, how much is revealed at any given time. That will differ from place to place. So I hope that answers your question. Hope it wasn't too much information. I hope that answers the question. Very good. This I can answer in about 2 or 3 sentences, but it's a good question. I'm not saying your question is bad. It's the scholars that you're referring to that I'm ridiculing. New World Over asks, Namaste Sri Acharyaji. As followers of Sanatana Dharma, we recognize Sanskrit as the oldest language in the world. However, some scholars claim Tamil is the oldest. Where do they get this claim from? 19th century Tamil nationalists. That's where they get this claim from. No one made this claim previous to their arising on the scene that is in what is now called Tamil Nadu. Certain nationalists who wanted to exaggerate the glories of their culture. Tamil culture, now don't get me wrong, Tamil culture is wonderful. However, this is unfortunately the nature of truly infantile xenophobia, is that some people go overboard and say that, oh yes, it's not just that we love our culture. No, our culture is the supreme culture of the earth. Well, that's kind of what these Tamil nationalists did, and they began to claim, and Tamil nationalist scholars, that no, it's not Sanskrit, it's actually Tamil that is the world's most ancient language. Tamil is a beautiful language. It's a classical language, like Latin, like Greek, indeed like Sanskrit itself. However, no, there's no evidence that Tamil is older than Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the oldest of languages. It is the language of the Vedic scriptures. It is the language of the gods. Therefore, a synonym for Sanskrita in Sanskrita is Devanagari, the language of the gods, etc. So no. Oh, and just to answer this perfectly, there are some scholars who claim, yes, unfortunately, there are some scholars who will claim anything. That's the nature of academicians. And, I have a PhD. I studied I have lectured scholars, actually, at academic conferences. This is the one thing about scholars. If you get 3 scholars together in a room, they'll have 7 different opinions among them. So they may have any opinion that they want. The important thing is actual objective evidence. So no, Sanskrit is the oldest language on earth. Good. Here is a good question from Kirill Petrov, and it is, Dear Acharyaji, what is the Vedic take on mental illnesses and disorders? Why do many humans suffer so horribly from disorders like schizophrenia? What happens to the Atman in these cases? Very good, wonderful. Well, let me answer this kind of in reverse order, because the last thing you ask is what happens to the Atman in these cases? Nothing. The Atman, and it's important that we truly understand this as a foundational premise of our understanding of Vedic spirituality and philosophy. The Atman is always pure. The Atman is never, ever affected by anything below Atman, anything material. That includes the mental, that includes intellectual, that includes physical, etc., etc. The Atman is never affected. The Atman can fall into illusion, but it's not affected by anything that is illusory. Just like we are not affected by a dream. In a dream, it could be that a lion is chasing us, but then we wake up. Where's the lion? There's no lion. So the Atman is not affected. Now, all that being said, let me say that you ask, to use your exact words, what is the Vedic take on mental illness and disorders? Mental illness and disorders, interestingly, have always been recognized in Ayurveda, specifically. Ayurveda being the medicinal system of Sanatana Dharma. Indeed, Sushruta and several other individuals who wrote some of the main textbooks on Ayurveda go quite deeply into Vedic psychology, psychiatry. They speak about all sorts of mental disorders, many of which would be recognized today. So indeed, this is something that has been recognized, that there are certain individuals who will simply have mental problems of one sort or another. They could be genetic, they could be chemically instigated, they could be circumstantial in accordance with the circumstances of the individual. A person can be forced to be mentally ill, etc. They can be traumatized. So these things have always been recognized. Now, that being said, let me say, as far as environmental factors, and when I say environmental factors, I don't mean just the obvious, i.e., social factors, but all external factors, including poison in the air, poison in our foods, in our processed foods, etc., GMOs, and all of these things. As far as these external factors that lead to mental disorder, what we certainly have seen is that these have increased as more and more and more time has gone on. In other words, if you were to take a snapshot of, let's say, a Vedic civilization, roughly 3,000 years ago, just to pick a date, you would find a fraction, a tiny fraction, of the mental disorders that you witness in society today. Now, why is this the case? Well, because as far as environment, as far as the externalities, people lived more in accordance with nature in every sense of that term, the natural way, etc. So therefore, there were not many external instigators for mental illness, mental disorder, compared to today, where it seems like almost every external situation is almost designed to give people mental disorders. So indeed, if you even look historically, you see that, it's not always the case that you had as many people with mental disorders as you do now. You certainly had less, again, when you go back to more Vedic times. But whatever is the case, whether we're talking about 3,000 years ago, whether we're talking about today, this date, 2023, mental disorders are something that are to be taken seriously. They're not to be laughed at. On the contrary, they have to be taken very seriously. And individuals with mental disorders are to be helped as much as is possible, as much as they can be helped. So again, if you examine Ayurveda, Ayurveda speaks about many techniques for helping individuals, but then of course also spiritually. When we're talking about 2023 very specifically, why do we have so many people who today are suffering from such mental disabilities, from, again, mental illness, etc.? Well, it's because everything of meaning, everything that makes a person the opposite of mentally ill, mentally sane, mentally stable, mentally calm, all these things have been purposefully deprived from us. We don't have a strong sense of community anymore. We don't. We don't. In a few nations, there still are. But in especially the Western nations, Europe, all of Europe, North America, etc., community is gone in any meaningful sense. The family has broken down. Religion is laughed at and driven out of all public spaces, etc., etc., etc. We have been deprived of meaning, and meaning is the oxygen that we need internally. Without there being, not just any meaning, not a meaning that you make up. No, real meaning. Without that true meaning in your life, i.e., spiritual meaning, you're not going to be mentally content. And this will then lead to deeper and deeper problems, including, you mentioned, schizophrenia, etc. So yes, we need to re-spiritualize society. And this being the case, does it mean 100% of mental illness will disappear? No, again, there's always been some mental illness. But it will help to alleviate the problem to a tremendous degree. So I hope that answers the question. Very good. Here's an interesting question. I'm not, okay, I'll read this. What is the Vedic perspective on traditions that have no roots in Indo-European cultures, such as African, Asians, well, Asian, Asia is part of Indo-European culture, Native Americans, etc. We have the Vedic perspective is not different with these other cultures than it would be with Indo-European culture, i.e. you look at the traditions, you look at the individuals, you look at what are the spiritual beliefs, and if they fall under the rubric of what we would call dharmic, then they are dharmic. Indeed, I can speak about Native American culture, for example, to some degree. I've studied Native American culture, especially the Hopi. Actually, I've studied very extensively. These are dharmic cultures. Seen in their pure form, obviously not if you visit necessarily reservations today where, oh, they have all sorts of problems that have been imposed upon them, etc. But if you look at traditional Native American cultures, and again, this is true for many of the areas that you mentioned, these are dharmic paths. And indeed, in Sanatana Dharma, the eternal natural way, I even mentioned that actually. Indeed, I believe I mentioned the 300 roughly tribes of Native Americans in North America and how these are dharmic. So yeah, we view these cultures the way we would any other. They are either dharmic or they're not. That's it. That's the sole criterion by which we judge such things. Very good. Good. This is a good question from Nick from Solace. And it is Namaste Sri Acharyaji. When offering food as prasada, is there any metaphysical change that occurs within the offering, or merely our perception of it, as well as helping deepen our bhakti? Thanks. Very good. Well, thank you very much for that question, Nick. And it is a good question. There is indeed a metaphysical change that occurs. And we have to state this. You stated it very well, actually. It's not an actual, let's say, chemical change. This is not something that some silly scientist can do an experiment on. Pre-offered food, offered food. Oh, let's see. Oh, the chemical composition has changed. Oh, how interesting. This proves God exists. No, of course, there's no change on so base a level as that. But indeed, metaphysically, there is a type of transubstantiation, to borrow a word from Christianity, that does take place, in which the food itself spiritually is transformed. And that's why, indeed, you have two words. You have the word bhoga and you have the word prasada for the same food, but bhoga is pre-offered. So food just in and of itself, but then indeed you go through the process of offering the food with devotion at the feet of Sriman Narayana. And then after this process is over and this offering is over, it's no longer bhoga, it is now prasada. It is now the grace of God. And by partaking of that food, you are partaking of a sacrament. And the reason why it's a sacrament is because God, having tasted the food himself first, now the food is transformed due to this upasana, due to this proximity of the food, what was material, to the divine. And now, that being the case, the food itself is altered metaphysically in such a way that by eating that very food itself, we can receive blessings. We can receive God's grace. So I hope that answers the question. Indeed, there is a change that takes place metaphysically. Very good. There's not really a question, but a statement from Naoki, and it is, Namaste. Recently, I am reading Tao Te Ching. Very good. The Tao Te Ching is a beautiful, beautiful work. And I've said this in the past, and I've said this knowing what I'm talking about. The Tao Te Ching is a dharmic work. Not every so-called religious scripture is. Indeed, they run the entire gamut. Some are garbage. Some are the opposite of spiritual. Some are semi-spiritual. They have some spiritual content, etc., etc. Some are purely spiritual, purely on the mark, philosophically, spiritually, etc. The Tao Te Ching is a purely dharmic work. You can see this from the very word Dao itself. Dao is the Chinese word for Dharma. So indeed, this is a work on Dharma, and if you understand Dharma from the Vedic perspective, and then you read this beautiful work of Lao Tzu called the Tao Te Ching, you will see that what is being expressed there is precisely the metaphysical mechanics of Dharma as applied both metaphysically, i.e. purely philosophically, but also as applied to our day-to-day life in this world. So that is the Tao Te Ching. It's a beautiful, beautiful work, and I definitely recommend it. Very good. This is a good question from Jason, and it is Namaste Acharyaji. Is the Sri Sampradaya the origin of all Vaishnava Sampradayas, or did other lineages develop parallel or to it? Very good question. Let me say this. Within the context of materiality, they are parallel. However, within the context of transcendent reality, the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya precedes all other Vaishnava Sampradayas. The reason why this is the case is because of the various founders of the various Sampradayas, Brahma, the Kumaras, Rudra, etc. It is Lakshmi, and Sri Lakshmi alone, who is a purely transcendent being, and not only transcendent, not only transcendental, but who is co-absolute with Narayana. So thus we have the name Sriman Narayana, Sriman referring to Lakshmi. All of the other beings cannot be described in the same way, as having the same ontological status as Sri Lakshmi Devi. So this being the case, they come into the world, one could say, at pretty much parallel times. You know, it doesn't have to be exact. But at the same time, the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya precedes time. So I hope that answers the question. Very good. This is from Victus. Namaste, Sri Acharyaji. Would you recommend that we read the Garga Samhita? Does this text declare Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the scriptures say this. Sri Krishna is one of the avatars of Narayana. He is one of the avatars of Sri Vishnu in the highest sense. That being the case, Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as is Sri Rama, as is Narasingha, as is Kurma, as is Varaha, as is Kalki when he comes, etc. So I hope that answers the question for you. Please give me a few moments. I'm just looking through all these various questions. Interesting question. This is a question from Avid Learner, and it is Namaste. Would it be conducive to our practice that we also grow out long hair? Will it help our practice of bhakti? Only if you are a real yogi. Only if you are a true yogi do you want to grow long hair, and that for very deep reasons, reasons that are there in the yogic tradition, including the idea that if you know how to, you can store prana in your hair. And indeed, there are many traditions of very great stalwart Vaishnava yogis specifically, who indeed grew hair for that reason. But there are other, again, even deeper reasons than that. I have long hair. Right now I have it in a ponytail, but when I let my hair down, at least in the front, it comes pretty much down to here, more or less. I have long hair, but it's because throughout my entire life I have been not just a yogi in name. It's very unfortunate. People throw so many words around, so many Sanskritic words. Like I've said, people will talk about some book that was written by some person 5 years ago, and they'll say, "Oh, this is a Vedic book," not understanding what the term Vedic actually means. In the same way, people will claim, "Oh, yes, I am a yogi. I am a yogi. I'm a yogi. Yogi this, yogi that." No, you either are a yogi or you're not. And what it means to be a yogi, I'll give you the definition. It means that you have practiced all angas of the Ashtanga system and that you've perfected them. That's what it means to be a yogi, that you have perfected the yamas and niyamas, and pranayama and dhyana, etc., 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 all 8 of these limbs of the Ashtanga system. When you do this, then you can call yourself a yogi. And that being the case, indeed, it is the tradition that if you are such a yogi, you have long hair. That's the tradition in, indeed, many different sampradayas, yogic traditions, etc. So that being the case, throughout my life, I have actually been a serious yogi. I have practiced asana. I have practiced pranayama. I have practiced samadhi. That being the case, I have long hair. So will it help you? Will it help in your practice of bhakti? Only if you become a serious yogi and permeate all of your yoga with bhakti, which is what true yoga is. It's upasana. It is the yoga of the Upanishads, where again you practice the Ashtanga system, but permeate it through and through with devotion to Narayana. If that is the case, then yes, it's good to let your hair grow long. Good. Here is a follow-up from Naoki, and it is, you say again, recently, namaste, recently I am reading Tao Te Ching. I remember you said Taoism is Dharma. Then Tao is the same as eternal natural way, or Tao represents God. Good. I'm glad that you have this follow-up, actually. Tao is not God. Tao is Dharma. It is the natural law. And I know the history of this because, again, I've studied this for 47 years, and I have a PhD in philosophy of religion. Very sadly, when Christian missionaries first came to China, very specifically, and they wanted to translate the Bible into Chinese, they were not sure what word to use because there were several interesting words that they could have used. There is indeed a King of Heaven. There are many other equivalents to Tao, etc. And the first translations of the Bible into Chinese, with those, they decided to use the word Tao as God because they were ignorant. They were just stupid. They were just ignorant. They knew nothing about Taoism or Chinese religion or philosophy or anything. So as a result, to this very day, sometimes people have this confusion and think that, oh, Tao is the Chinese name for God. No, it's not. Again, all you have to do is read Tao Te Ching for 5 minutes and you see that that is not the case. No, Tao is derived very, very specifically and directly from the Sanskrit, from Dharma. Indeed, there are many, 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 many Sanskrit words that were transferred to China, both pre-Buddhist, but then especially post-Buddha as well, where when Buddhism began to spread, they also brought Sanskrit and many aspects of Vedic culture with them to China, etc. But now I'm going too deeply. The point is that Tao means Dharma. It's not the Chinese name for God in any way whatsoever. And New World Over, absolutely my pleasure to answer your question. Very good. Here is let's see. Okay, about 29 questions from Lump Conqueror. That's very good. Actually, that's perfectly fine. But I'll maybe deal with one of these at a time. Let's see. Oh, actually, maybe you're responding to someone else because it seems like you're starting midstream. But here I see an actual question. Namaste Acharyaji. A question from Noah G. in his words. In my capacity as a religious studies researcher, I also have to look in some depth at sources of Western esoteric traditions. Is it advised to get rid of such books? Are they harmful in and of themselves? If not, how are we to hurdle such materials? Thank you for all you do, Acharyaji. Very nice. Good. Well, good question. Well, thank you both to Love Conqueror and to Noah for that question. No, you should never throw books away. You should never throw books away, and especially in your case, as you say, you are a religious studies researcher. Books are sacred, even if what is in them is made up, even if it's nonsensical, etc. Books contain knowledge. This being the case, for those books that do contain nonsense in them, or what to speak of even something demonic or something like that, they should not necessarily be available to innocent minds. They should be within the safekeeping of, again, researchers who know what they're looking at, know what they're reading, and can refute it, etc. But no, I don't believe in throwing away any sort of books. Indeed, I have, let me tell you, I have works by Karl Marx. I have, in my library, I have works by Crowley, Aleister Crowley. I have works by several atheist philosophers, etc. And why do I have them? Well, you have to study your enemy. And I've studied my enemy better than my enemy has studied themselves. So indeed, don't throw out these books in any way. Use them for your research in any legitimate way that you can. Very good. And Kirill, oh, you are very welcome. You're very welcome for me answering your question. Very good. GEG, let me say, as far as your question, I've already answered this, not on YouTube. When you have a chance, please go to either our BitChute channel, go to our Odyssey channel, or go to our Rumble channel, and look very specifically for a series of talks that is called Curing the Poison of the Kali Yuga. If you look at the 5th video in that series, I actually answer your question extremely in depth. So again, I'm not going to answer this on YouTube. Rather, please look at that video, again, on any of those channels, and your question will be 1,000% satisfied if you do that. So thank you. Good. Here is a very practical question from Blue Suzaku, and it is Namaste Acharyaji. Is it reasonable to want to be recognized and respected for one's positive actions and talents? I don't want to be taken for granted or work for those who don't respect me. Good. Let me say that when it comes to wanting just simple respect, just normal, healthy respect from others, because of some talent that you have or something you've accomplished, etc. It is simply a matter of having a balanced approach. In other words, on the one hand, to desire such respect in a healthy way, no, there's nothing wrong with that. If you've worked very hard, and let's say you've created something wonderful, whether it's working for someone else, or let's say, oh, you're an artist, you've created a beautiful work of art, and if people don't appreciate it in any way, well, that would make anyone sad. That would, make a person depressed. So no, it's very normal to desire praise. Everyone desires praise. On the one hand, on the other hand, of course, it shouldn't become something that's pathological. It shouldn't be that, oh, unless people are praising me constantly, I have no motivation to do anything. It shouldn't be that with such praise you allow it to then go to your head and begin to live in an expanded illusion of your own worth, saying, oh yes, oh, it's not just that people appreciate me, I am the best on earth at this, and just go too far. So you want to have a balanced approach. Indeed, we should never allow people to victimize us. We should never allow people to just treat us badly, to take advantage of us. Again, I need to stress this. We speak about humility constantly. Humility is the foundation of any legitimate and true spirituality. Indeed, if you don't have humility, before anything of spiritual content comes out of your mouth, first you have to work on humility. Yes, we believe in humility on the one hand, but on the other hand, in a healthy way. Humility doesn't mean that, oh, now I'm going to allow people to take advantage of me and to mistreat me, etc., etc. No, there has to be a balanced approach. You do not ever allow anyone to victimize you, but at the same time, you have that healthy spiritual humility such that you just don't allow things to go to your head and just increase your ahankara, your false ego. So indeed, a balanced approach is the best course of action. Nice. Very good. Here is a good question from Erica Jones that in a way kind of also touches upon the answer that I just gave, and it is, Namaste Acharyaji. I've been contemplating santosha. Santosha means contentment, being content. How do you find the balance between wanting more and doing better, opposed to just having contentment with where you are? Excellent question. Let me answer it first in this very simple way. What true contentment is this, that as you are traversing your path toward excellence, you bring that contentment with you. So it's not one or the other. It's not one or the other. Again, it's not a matter of, oh, I want to have success, I want to become better and better all the time, or I can be content and not do that. You see, this is the false dichotomy that people often have in their mind. But no, true santosha means this, that wherever you find yourself, having exerted yourself in a good and sattvic way to the best of your abilities, wherever you find yourself, you are content. But that being the case, you are content having exerted yourself. So in other words, you do both. You do both. You are someone who is slightly wealthy, become a millionaire, but be content. You're a millionaire, become a billionaire, but you're content. You're a billionaire, you've lost all your money, now you have $10 in your bank account, be content. You see. So that is the point. It's not that you have a stoppage in your activity. No, continue always to seek excellence in your life. Indeed, this is one of the hallmarks of Vedic civilization. When you look at the Vedic civilization, for example, of the past, what do you see? Excellence in everything. Excellence in philosophy. Unbeatable, formidable philosophy, the likes of which no one can defeat it, regardless of their argumentation. We find art, we find temples that are beautiful, we find martial artists and warriors, the likes of which we cannot even imagine such people today, unless they're depicted on screen in some crazy fictional way, but these people existed. Excellence, excellence, excellence in everything. In everything. But at the same time, permeated with the spiritual in such a way that, oh, let's say you're a warrior and you have been studying and practicing with archery for the last 20 years to the point where in an instant you can grab an arrow, shoot it without even looking, and you can shoot off the wings of a mosquito at 50 yards away. Let's say you're that good. You don't let it go to your head. You seek that excellence, but at the same time, you're content. You're content. You're spiritual. You're calm. You're peaceful. Indeed, the idea of contentedness versus excellence, that is reaching for the highest, they should be one. They should be done simultaneously. This is indeed how we are to practice yoga and santosha in this world, in such a way that, yes, become the most excellent person you can. Indeed, for every single one of my students, I drill this into them. What is your field? What do you do? What do you do? You're a writer. You're a mechanic. You are an artist. You are a politician, you do this, you do that. Make sure that you perform the activities of your career perfectly. Take it as far as it can go, but never forget God and never forget who you are as a servant of God. Thus, you have that contentment, and still you can reach for the stars. So, I hope that answers your question. Good. Here's a nice question from Gaurav, and it is Namaste Acharyaji. My humble obeisances unto you. Likewise. And you ask, please suggest why even for mantras that we offer to demigods, we also use Om in the beginning of the mantra. Thank you. Yes, good question, actually. The reason why is to remember what is the source of that demigod. It is Om. It is Sriman Narayana. That's why. That's why. Om is the sound representation of God as that sound representation permeates all of reality. It is the foundation of reality. That being the case, it is the foundation even of these gods. So it is auspicious to say. It is auspicious to say with any mantra, and thus it makes it a truly legitimately Vedic mantra, both in the sense that the mantra is revealed, but also in the sense that ontologically the mantra, even to a demigod, is linked to God, linked to the Absolute. So thus it has several purposes, and that is that in saying that mantra, even to a demigod, God is still present there in sound vibration form, so you are benefiting, but it is also, again, a reminder of who is the foundation, ultimately, of that God. And that is that it is the Supreme Being. So I hope that answers the question. We have a little bit more time left. Here is a very, very good question, and I assume it is from one of our pre-Christian European religious brothers or sisters. And thank you for this question. What will happen after the Kali Yuga? Very good. The ages proceed in a cycle. So there are 4 ages. The first age is what is called the Satya Yuga. The Satya Yuga, very specifically, is the golden age itself. And there's no debate about this. I know there's a lot of confusion. What is the golden age? Was the golden age a few thousand years ago? When was it? No, the golden age itself was the Satya Yuga, several million years ago. That's the first stage. Then there is the Treta Yuga, where things qualitatively are a little bit worse. Then there's the Dvapara Yuga, where again things are a little bit worse. Right now we're in the Kali Yuga, where things are as bad as they can be. And honestly, what we've experienced now, people who are very spiritually sensitive and just truly, truly have a connection with the divine, they will often feel that right now is as bad as it can get. And it is as bad as it has been. That is true in 2023 in this juncture of the Kali Yuga. Sadly, it's actually going to get worse in many, many thousands of years from now, several 100,000 years from now. But when the Kali Yuga ends, then it is the Satya Yuga again. And again, the cycle continues, So that's what happens when the Kali Yuga is over. Avid learner, my pleasure to answer your question. Here's another question from Jason, and it is Namaste Acharyaji. Is it a sin to offer prasadam without separate deity plates, utensils? what is the appropriate way to do it if deity plates, etc., aren't available? Very good. I wouldn't use the word sin per se. I try to avoid that word except for the most obvious sorts of things. But it is definitely important to have separate utensils, separate plates, etc., for offering. And let me say this: if you can purchase such plates and utensils, so for example, if you go to Krishna culture, Krishna Store, places like this, you can buy actual nice little sets that will have a little plate, several bowls. It will have a little cup for liquids. It will have, again, eating utensils. But truthfully, if you could do that, that's nice, but you don't need to. Even if you could just purchase ordinary just plates that you can get almost anywhere from Target or someplace like this, they can be inexpensive. The important thing is that whatever plates you're using to offer, that is all that those plates are used for. So again, they don't have to be the fanciest plates. They don't have to be special, specific plates made out of a certain material, silver or whatever, stainless steel. No, the important thing is that is all that you use those plates for, however much you paid for them, etc. So that's the principle. So if you can afford even the least expensive plates and utensils for offering, that is good enough. Very good. Very good. And GEG says, I will. Thank you, Acharyaji. I will do so. Very good. Yes. Please, again, look for that video specifically. You can find it on our BitChute, our Rumble, or our Odyssey channels. To find the links to those, just go to the description of this or any of our videos, and at the very bottom, you'll see a whole list of all of our extensive social media links. And look for specifically curing the poison of the Kali Yuga, and it's the 5th video in that series. Very good. Here's a very important question. Sri Acharyaji, if one has been initiated in Vajrayana tantric traditions, is it better for him to continue in that or to return to pure bhakti, such as you and Srila Prabhupada teach? Let me give you the definitive answer on this, and thank you very much for asking what I know is a very sincere question. The answer is the latter. If you feel so inclined, in other words, now let me explain what I mean by this. What you need to ask yourself is this: what is your goal? What do you want? Do you want God? Do you really want to know God in the highest? That being who not only transcends this material world, but more than that, that being who is the source of all reality, that being who, as you're practicing Vajrayana Buddhism, as you are practicing Christianity, as you are a Satanist, as you're practicing this or that or the other thing, that being who is there with you, residing in your heart, regardless of what your opinion is and what so-called tradition you choose to follow. Is that what you want? That being who is with you regardless of what you're practicing. That being who is always with you. If you wish to know that, and you refuse to settle for anything less than that, then indeed you should be pursuing pure bhakti. So this is why I would say, not just to followers of Vajrayana Buddhism, this applies across the board. Again, if you're an Orthodox Christian, if you're Muslim, if you're a follower of any sort of religious path, ask yourself, what do I really want? And if I indeed want to know that being who, regardless of what I call myself, that being is here, regardless of anything. Do I want to know that being as my best friend? Do I want to truly embrace that being who is my source? That being the case, practice devotion toward that being. It's that simple. So ask yourself what you want. If you want that being, then please practice bhakti. If you're not on there already, please join our Discord server and immediately engage in questions and conversations with our people who are there, and allow them to help you to experience God in your heart. So I hope that answers the question. And Blue Suzaku says, Dhanyavada Acharyaji. My pleasure to answer your question. Good. Here is a very important question, actually. And it is from Pavitra Nirola, and it is Namaste Acharyaji. I am 33, and everyone around me wants me to get married. I want to as well, but I can't find a partner who believes in what I believe. How important is religion, dharma in marriage? Very good. Let me answer this for you, because this is a very important, very practical question. And let me just say it is crucial, actually. It is crucial that if you're going to be with a partner, that is, let's see, yes, if you're going to be, with a partner and get married, it's important, it's crucial that your partner share your religion. Today, of course, nothing has value, nothing has meaning, everything is just do whatever you want. So, of course, people will say, oh, it doesn't matter, it doesn't, as I always say, when it comes to things of importance, when you hear someone drone on about how it doesn't matter, don't listen to them. The things of importance matter. They matter. They matter crucially. That being the case, who you marry is something of importance. You want compatibility as much as possible in every way. They should be compatible as far as their culture, their culture should be the same as yours. Their religion should be the same as yours. As much as is possible, the more commonality you have with that partner, the happier, the more contentedness there will be in that relationship. That being the case, don't give up. Again, I don't know, of course, your full story. I don't know where you are, where you're living, such that you cannot, it's difficult apparently to find someone who is following Sanatana Dharma. Don't give up. Continue trying. And this is the other thing that many people end up very practically doing. If you can at the very least find someone who, maybe nominally they follow a different religion, but they are open-minded enough that they are willing to learn about Sanatana Dharma, practice Sanatana Dharma, then find someone who maybe is of a different religion, but you can help them to take refuge in Dharma. You can help them to begin to practice Sanatana Dharma. And again, don't be afraid to do this. It's not a matter of preaching. Again, they have to be open to begin with. It's not a matter of forced conversion. we do the opposite of forced conversions. We don't convert people against their will. Other religions do that. We don't. But no, it's a matter of, again, finding someone who is open-minded and just educating them, teaching them, and bringing them to the point where, for their own good, if they truly love you, then for the good of their future family, they themselves will be on the same page with you and also follow Sanatana Dharma. Have the confidence in yourself that indeed you can communicate with a potential partner in this way and thus share the same religion. But yes, please don't give up on this. Let me answer this because several people have asked this, not directly of me, but I've seen they've asked my students and disciples in more indirect ways. And this is from Undeaf. Will you ever reveal mantras or equivalents for other Nordic deities as you have done for Odin and Thor? Let me answer this. That is out of my hands entirely. If such mantras are revealed to me, I will make them known if I'm allowed to. But with the Thor mantra, and the Thor Gayatri mantra, for example, those came to me. They came to me, and when it is the will of the gods that such things are revealed to me, then if I'm given permission, I will reveal them to the general public. What does that mean? That means that 100 more mantras could be revealed in my lifetime, or 0. But indeed, that's up to the gods themselves and their grace. But thank you for asking that. Let me say, Mr. Oldenswolf is here. Namaste. I am very, very, very happy to see you here. I'm glad that you've been able to attend today, and we should speak soon. So I will contact you and we'll arrange something. Very good. We're kind of over time. Well, not kind of. We are 2 minutes over time. So please give me a minute. I just want to see if maybe there's another question I can very quickly answer with the time that we have. Very good. Here's another question from Avid Learner, and it is Namaste, Sri Acharyaji, regarding Jason's question about the offering plates and utensils. Is it offensive if they were pre-used and not fresh, but are now used exclusively for offering? Yes, that's considered offensive. So that's why I was saying you should go out and buy new dishes that are used exclusively for offering. You know, anything that we offer, and this is the general rule, anything that is offered to God should not have been used or enjoyed by anyone else before offering. So we're going to offer food. It shouldn't be the case that, oh, we've eaten it, we've tasted it, oh, okay, well, whatever's left over, let me offer that. No, that's actually offensive. No, we should cook the food, and this is tough. I'm an expert on it. I learned how to do this. You cook the food without tasting it, then you offer it, and then you can eat it. This is true for incense. You know, when you offer incense, sometimes you can't help but smell it a little bit. You try not to be aware of it. You offer it first. God should be the first person who smells the beautiful scent of the incense. Once it's offered, oh, then you can smell it, and on and on. This is true for plates as well. They should not be plates that were pre-used by anyone. Very nice. I will probably stop answering questions from here on, but let me just say this is a very nice comment from Soupy Soup. I like that name. Not just soup, but Soupy Soup. I'm so glad I watched tonight. Thank you, Acharyaji. Well, it is absolutely my pleasure. I'm very, very happy that you could be here, and thank you for that nice comment. And again, a lot of wonderful comments. So again, yeah, it seems like I answered all the questions. That's good. Just a lot of very, very, very nice, wonderful comments. So again, I will stop here since it seems like I answered the majority of the questions. And with that, as always, I want to thank you all very much for being here. We have what has become a truly beautiful, truly wonderful weekly community where we get together, you know, many of us live. Of course, the video will be available and seen by thousands of people over time. But for those of you who especially can join me live on these Monday evenings, thank you so much, because this is a community not just for all of you. You are my community as well. You fellow dharmis, fellow followers of Sanatana Dharma, you are my community, and I thank you for being that, for being my community. With that, please join us again next Monday as we continue with these live stream satsangas and we continue with our growth in knowledge and experience of Sanatana Dharma. And with that, Namaste. Jaya Shriman Narayana. Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Jaya Shri Guru. Sanatana Dharma Jayate. Dharma Rashtra Jayate. Surya Vansha Jayate. Victory to Sanatana Dharma. Victory to the Dharma nation. Victory to the solar dynasty. Evam bhavatu. May such victory be so. And so it shall be. And with that, everyone, until the next time that we get together, I ask you all, please, in every way, that you please take very good care of yourselves.